Hello and welcome all watchers and listeners. I am the Emperor's Hand and welcome to my channel, where I will mostly be discussing facts and theories relating to all our beloved characters in a galaxy far, far away, both in the new Disney canon and the original expanded universe now known as Legends. So sit back, grab a glass of blue milk and enjoy! So, at Star Wars Celebration 2017, two very important things that hinted what was to come in the story, specifically regarding Rey, Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker, were released. The Last Jedi poster and Daisy Ridley's comment, "It's difficult when you meet your heroes, because it might not be what you expect," on Rey meeting Luke. It points to Rey being disappointed in Luke after expecting him to be most likely and all-powerful and wise, because in The Force Awakens she says she thought he was a myth. I was at Celebration and managed to get into the Last Jedi panel with my friends, and I got so excited when I heard Daisy say those words, because I had thought that the relationship between Rey and Luke would not get off to a great start for many reasons. Entertainment Weekly also suggested this in their recent Episode 8 article, saying that Luke would not give Rey a warm welcome and that it would hit her abandonment issues hard. The first reason is because of Luke's reaction to Rey at both the end of Episode 7 and in the Episode 8 production teaser. He looks confused at why she's come, as well as amazed that another human being is standing right in front of him. And when she presents the lightsaber to him, he doesn't look happy. I would argue he looks downright angry in the production teaser, and Rey looks unsure about him, compared to the emotional look she had at the end of The Force Awakens. The second reason is because it makes sense for the story. Well, I don't think Luke is Rey's father, and indeed there has been plenty of evidence as well as subtle hints from Lucasfilm that they are not related, and I will elaborate on this in future videos. There's no doubt that he will become some sort of father figure and teacher figure for Rey, one that she will disagree with and defy. Why? It fits in with the hero's journey. Both Anakin and Luke defied their teacher father figures, with Anakin leaving Naboo to go to Tatooine and potentially putting Padme in danger, despite Obi-Wan telling him to stay there for Padme's safety, and Luke going to Bespin despite Yoda and Obi-Wan telling him to complete his training. Defying the teacher and father figure is essentially a coming-of-age trial that the hero has to go through, and Rey will be no different. So it makes sense for Rey to defy Luke as well. It also makes sense for her to defy him for the story, since Rey has already had a father figure in Han Solo, one that she was proud to have and wanted to impress. If Luke was to have the exact same role, it would provide little to no conflict to the story, and as J.K. Rowling once said, without conflict you don't have a story, and conflict and much mistrust between them would ramp up the tension and raise the stakes for the audience. But what could be the cause of the conflict between them? This is all speculation on my behalf, but I believe it will be a number of things. First, there has to be something that starts the conflict, and one way this could work is if at first he refuses to train Rey, because he's worried that Rey could turn into another Kylo Ren. Now, let me elaborate on this. Leia states in The Force Awakens that she sent her son to Luke for training because there was too much Vader in him, and that Snoke seduced him to the dark side. While we don't know most of the details yet, it's pretty much assumed that Luke was training Ben as a Jedi and was unable to stop Snoke from exploiting him and bringing him over to his side, hence destroying Luke's new generation of Jedi, and as Han said, Luke felt responsible and walked away from everything. Now, at first, it could just be Luke being fearful of losing another student and doesn't want to go through all that all over again, and at the beginning of Episode 8, he could easily say to Rey, "You made a mistake coming here, go back to the Resistance," which would leave Rey feeling disappointed in him. However, I believe it'll go deeper than that. In the Last Jedi teaser, Luke says it's time for the Jedi to end, and his hand is shown touching a book with the Jedi Order symbol on it. Since Luke was pretty determined to bring back the Jedi Order and went around travelling for Jedi artifacts, and went to the Jedi Temple to find the Force Tree in Shattered Empire, there would have to be something earth-shattering for Luke to want the Jedi to end. Maybe it could be something to do with how they formed, or what their original beliefs involved, or how they ended the original Sith. Regardless, I think it's pretty clear that Luke will show Rey that book, but won't tell her why the Jedi need to end, only that he won't train her. He will probably also refuse to go back to the Resistance to help, because he no longer wishes to fight, or believe he can make a difference due to his failure with Kylo Ren. Whereas Rey believes he can make a difference and sees him as letting his sister, the cause, and the galaxy down. This sets up Rey feeling disappointment with Luke, because she realises he is not the powerful myth she believed him to be, and that disappointment will lead to mistrust. First with Luke refusing to train her and tell her what's in the book, and eventually regarding her untrained Force powers and Kylo Ren. In Star Wars Battlefront 2, one of Rey's powers is Mind Trick, which confuses enemies, and according to people at the recent EA event like Two Angry Gamers, it also scrambles the enemy's player's controls. Since Battlefront 2's player campaign is canon, what could this mean for Rey's story and her relationship with Luke? But I think this new power of hers has already been introduced. Remember Daniel Craig's stormtrooper that she used the Force on to persuade him to release her from the interrogation chair? I believe that this is where we first witnessed a taste of her newfound power, as she mind-tricked him, and in the novelisation, it's mentioned that he regained his senses eventually, but was dazed and confused. So what if this power has the potential to go even further than mere mind-tricking, and instead becomes mind control, where she can actually fully take over someone's mind with the Force and command them? Along with that stormtrooper, we've also seen her accidentally enter Kylo Ren's mind when he was using the Force to find out information about the map and examine her memories, and I think this is what caused her to awaken her powers, so to speak. Since Kylo was reading her mind, and since they both have mind-reading types of power, she used that link to go into his mind without realising, and I'll elaborate further on this later. We know that Luke will eventually start training Rey, as seen when he observes her practicing with her lightsaber in the teaser. Or does he? It could be Luke observing her skills in order to decide whether to train her or not. It would be interesting if Luke gives her a task to complete in order to persuade him that he can teach her, as well as show him what she knows. What if Rey's task is to defeat the rumoured sea monster that is apparently going to appear on Acto? Maybe this sea monster guards something that Luke wishes to find. Maybe it resides in a dark side cave similar to the one on Dagobah, or perhaps it's just a natural threat. Whatever the reason, while fighting it, Rey becomes angry and fears for her life, and unconsciously taps into the dark side of the Force to mind control it before killing it. Luke either senses or witnesses this and becomes even more distant and wary of Rey, because he could be reminded of what happened to his nephew. Due to the reason why Han and Leia sent their son to Luke, Ben could have had difficulty controlling his Force abilities, such as his mind-reading skills, and as a result, lashed out in anger and also tapped into the dark side without realising, thus making him very vulnerable to Snoke's influence. So they sent him to Luke in order to help him control these powers, but for whatever reason, Luke was unable to stop Snoke from fully corrupting him. So as a result, Luke sees Kylo Ren in Rey and pushes her away emotionally as a result, because he is worried that the same might happen with her and doesn't want to be responsible for causing another downfall, as well as go through losing another student again. While Rey just gets more angry, frustrated and mistrustful of Luke, leaving her emotionally vulnerable to someone else's words and ideas. So this is where Kylo Ren comes in. In May 2016, Mark Hamill, Daisy Ridley and Adam Driver were spotted arriving in Ireland together. As I'm sure most of you know, Ireland is a location used for Acto, so it's no small feat to assume Kylo Ren shows up at some point, and I think it will be earlier than most people expect. There's also that shot of him in the teaser where he already has his scar, so it can't be a flashback. In the teaser, we also see Luke fall before his knees in front of a burning temple, followed by what seems to be Phasma and a legion of stormtroopers coming out of it. It also calls back to how Rey witnessed Luke in her Force vision, and I think it will be coming into play here, making it a vision of the future. I think Kylo Ren will either find out they are on Acto through Rey, or the First Order will attack the Resistance base since they know their location and get the full map from there at the beginning of the film. If you look at some shots of the teaser, there is one of Rey running and it appears that the sky is darkening behind her, and the shot of the Millennium Falcon appears to be happening during a bright morning judging by the sky. I think what will happen is that Kylo Ren, Phasma and the First Order will arrive just as it starts to get dark, hence Rey running along the beach to get ready to fight. Then a fight breaks out overnight and the First Order burns the Jedi Temple and Kylo confronts Rey, to Luke and Rey escaping in the Falcon in the morning with Chewie and R2. So what if Luke, Rey and Kylo Ren all end up alone on Acto together? There are quite a few hints at this. The poster shows all three of them, with Luke and Kylo Ren's faces split between Rey's lightsaber. This for me hints that their dynamic will be at the forefront of the film, and the lightsaber between their faces with Rey standing underneath them hints to me that she will become conflicted between them. But how will Luke and Rey get Kylo Ren on his own? I think Kylo won't be fully recovered from his injuries Rey gave him on Starkiller Base, and she and Luke will possibly be able to subdue him and get him aboard the Millennium Falcon and escape the First Order by flying to the other side of the planet. Here Rey will learn something from Kylo Ren that changes her outlook. On Reddit, there were rumours by a user called Bothan Spy who said that Kylo Ren and Rey have a conversation in a hut and Luke doesn't like it and the hut explodes. Judging by a recent information regarding Star Wars Battlefront 2, Luke's newest ability is Force Repulse, where he sends a burst of Force energy out from the ground, dealing damage to any enemies nearby, and I think in an attempt to stop whatever Kylo Ren wants to reveal to Rey, he will unleash this power and destroy the hut. What could this conversation be about? Who knows? Personally, I think it could be a number of things. It could be whatever Luke kept from Rey regarding what was in the book, how the Jedi Order were originally formed, or what Luke was teaching originally. It could also be the truth of what happened between Snoke and Ben, and maybe Luke failed to stop it. Whatever it is, it points to Rey mistrusting Luke more, and maybe possibly start to trust Kylo Ren. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, there's no way Rey would trust Kylo. He murdered Han Solo right in front of her. Well, yes, that's true. And before Rey can even begin to trust him, Kylo Ren will have to really show to both Rey and the audience how much he regrets killing his father. I am confident that they will show Kylo Ren's guilt, as Adam Driver has recently said in an interview with Vanity Fair that patricide is not all it's cracked up to be. I think they will explore Kylo Ren's guilt through the eyes of Rey, and as Carrie Fisher once said, Rey is very forgiving. She shows compassion to various characters throughout The Force Awakens and Forces of Destiny. She doesn't sell BB-8 to Unkar, and she feeds the Night Watch worm after it tried to eat BB-8. If Kylo Ren shows how guilty he is, I think she will start to feel compassion for him and start to change her view of him. I can also think of 3 other reasons as to why Rey will change her stance on him. The first reason is his tragic backstory. It's hinted in the Force Awakens novelization and the Aftermath novels that Ben Solo was more or less targeted by Snoke from the moment he was conceived. Leia tells Han that Snoke was watching him from the beginning, and Aftermath has Leia feel something dark when she realizes she is pregnant. J.J. Abrams also commented that Snoke had targeted him and wanted him as his ally. If Rey discovers this, she will most likely feel even more sorry for Kylo Ren and resolve to save him from Snoke and the dark side, the same way Luke felt compassion for Vader after he discovered he was his father and resolved to save him from Palpatine and the dark side. The second reason is how Kylo Ren treats her in comparison to Luke. He has never lied to her, even when he captured her to find out where the map was. Instead of lying and saying her friends had been captured, as well as to try and break her spirit, he told her the truth and said he had no idea where they were. If he continues to tell her the truth, or at least try to, about everything, and Luke doesn't want to reveal anything to her, then Rey may have more cause to trust Kylo Ren over Luke. The third reason is the possibility of a force bond or connection between them. When Rey used that link to enter Kylo Ren's mind when he was reading hers, the connection was formed, and this is why she was able to use the Force to trick the Stormtrooper and defeat Ren, because she used the knowledge she had gotten from his mind and seemed to have downloaded some of his fighting style and knowledge of how to use a lightsaber, as the fight on Starkiller Base showed. The Star Wars databank entries on Ren states that a mysterious connection seemed to link the two, and Rey saw his darkest and most deepest fear that he would never be as strong as Darth Vader. So if there is a force bond between them, and it grows stronger as they spend more time together, it could make Luke fear the influence Kylo Ren has on Rey, and make them distrust each other even more. Luke may also refuse to train Rey again because he sees the similar fighting style they have, and with Rey's mind-controlling powers, he could even see her turning into another Kylo Ren and becoming a threat to him and the galaxy. Their views on Kylo Ren will cause a massive rift between them, with Luke believing that Kylo Ren cannot be redeemed and Rey believing the opposite. Making Star Wars released a rumour last year that Luke wanted Rey to kill Kylo Ren, but Rey was reluctant. I believe that when Kylo Ren fell to the dark side, Luke thought he could bring him back the same way he did with Vader, by appealing to the good in him with familial love. But this backfired horribly, as Snoke had most likely poisoned him against his uncle, and such destroyed Luke's new generation of Jedi. Luke might also see this bond Rey and Kylo Ren share as a threat, because Ren might use it to gain information through her, like possibly discovering their location on Acto as I mentioned earlier, or perhaps use the bond to control her and attack Luke, and he believes the only way to free Rey from this is for her to kill Kylo Ren. It's also no small feat to assume that Luke also felt Han's death through the Force, and unlike with Vader, he truly believes that Kylo Ren cannot be redeemed and orders Rey to kill him in order to save the galaxy, free Rey from the bond, and in order to possibly become a Jedi. Whereas Rey, witnessing his regret and having access to his thoughts and emotions, does believe there is still good in him and refuses. It's an interesting contrast to what happened between Luke, Yoda, and Obi-Wan regarding Vader, as well as Luke and Leia. All this would provide epic conflict and tension to the story, but if this happens, how would the conflict resolve itself? Well, I hope you guys tune in for the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and will check out my future videos. Also, a massive thank you to the wonderful and talented Panda Cappuccino for creating this beautiful background for me. You guys should totally check out her amazing artwork in the link in the description. Until next time, and may the Force be with you.